Alright, here we go. First of all, we're going to start off with the wide brush like this. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see a little bit better what we're doing. And forgive me while I just reposition this. Okay, I think it's more important to see what's going on here rather than see the paints and so forth. Okay, and I will explain the brushes as we get to them. Okay. Really, this painting really only takes technically 2 brushes, and you really could do it with only 1. So here we go. I'm going to wet my brush down in my water over here. Not going to get it saturated wet, but I want it good and wet. Why? Because we're going to start off and we're going to put a little glow in the middle of this painting, this card. Now you may want to, and it's up to you, and in the instructions that you will find, you will see a little thing this size you can actually print off, and when you do, it's going to have this marked out for you. And then, but you want to have a line, and in another video we're going to talk about composition. We're going to talk about the rule of thirds and so forth, but that's a whole other video. We're just going to paint and have a little bit of fun. You can follow along, pause this if you need to do that. We're going to take some water. I realize I probably need to back this up just so you can kind of see where things are happening. And let's come this way. Yeah, there we go. And there's the paints right there so you can kind of see. Okay, black is up here, brown's down here, all the colors are in between. This is my water reservoir here. Alright, I'm going to take some water, get that. I want to go directly into the yellow. Now my water is a little dirty in my reservoir, so it's going to automatically make my yellow. I'm not wetting the paper down. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. It depends on this. For this particular demonstration, we're not. I'm just going to kind of eyeball and guess. I'm going to go right in the middle, right here above where I think the middle is, and I'm going to put in a very light wash. Now I'm not reloading. I'm reloading this paint to this because I want to intensify this a little bit. The reason I'm not adding a ton of water is I don't want a lot of buckling, and I will show you what I'm talking about. But I'm starting in the middle, I'm working my way back up and slowly letting the water just kind of fade out. And now I have this nice little light color of yellow just above that. But because we're going to have water in the painting as well, I'm going to take that and I'm going to also bring some of this down as well. Okay, because water reflects what is in the sky. Things to remember about painting, especially water. If you have smooth water, like is in our little sample today, like this, if you have smooth water, you're going to have reflection, okay, and it's going to reflect everything that's there. All right. So now we have the yellow glow. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in. I'm going to actually clean my brush because I got yellow in it. And if I'm not careful, you got to clean that brush out really good, or either use a completely different brush, because if you don't, you're going to wind up with green. Okay, primary colors are red, yellow, and blue, and yellow and blue make green. So I'm going to come in and grab some blue, excuse me. I got green on the brain. Grab some blue right at the top of that, and I'm just going to very lightly, right at that crease, bring the blue across, and slowly just let the water just kind of, and I'm just going to kind of let this kind of roll down. Now, to keep that from turning green, I'm going to reach down here and grab some of this red. Yep, I'm going to get a touch of red, and I'm going to put it right on between the two of those, like that. And I'm going to slowly just kind of work that back and forth and just let that kind of blend together. I'm letting the water do the work, okay? Sometimes I use the easel, sometimes I don't. Now what I've done up here, I'm going to take the same color and do it at the very bottom and let it come right back up into the yellow. If it turns a little green on me in the water, no big deal. Actually, I'm just going to kind of just give the same basic color and let that go. Okay, now I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but now you notice right here, see how my paper has kind of lifted up? The water that's in the paper is absorbing the water, and as a result, we're starting to get that buckling effect. This is why the heavier the water, and I can actually, if you look in the video, look very closely, you can see there's a dip along here and there's a rise here. That's fine. However, now we're going to kind of let this settle for just a moment. While that settles and kind of dries itself, you can use a hair dryer if you want. If I'm doing something specific or very technical, I will dry it and then to speed up the process a little bit. Okay, so but for the most part I really don't have to do a whole lot with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the smaller of the brushes that we had. This is another little flat brush, and actually no, I think we'll just stick with the two brushes. I think it'll be easier. I'm going to get a little bit of wet. This is probably not quite dry enough, but I think if we don't add a ton of water to it, we should be okay. I'm just adding enough water to pick up paint, and I'm going in here, I'm touching, I'm getting a little bit of black. I'm putting it over here in the reservoir that's on this right here. I'm the black, and then I'm going in and picking up some of the brown, mixing those together right here, and that's where I'm going to go. Looking at this, yeah, I think I'm okay on the wetness. We'll talk more about that in a completely other video. Now, basically, what I want to do is I'm going to really be worried about the top edge of what's going to be our little mountain. Okay, so I'm going to start right here. I'm holding the brush flat like this against. I'm not doing not holding it this. You're going to see the wide side of the brush facing you. Okay, and I'm going to just pull it, bring it up, form a small little peak, down a little bit, and just kind of wiggle it like so and form a little mountain peak. Now, before that goes away, I'm going to do the same thing just below it, and I'm just going to mimic what I've done right there. Now, add just a touch more. I'm going to go very dark. This is like a sunset, so this is going to be silhouetted. I'm going to grab, one of the things about watercolor is most of the time watercolor, you're working your way, not going to dark, coming from dark going to highlight. You're actually darkening everything. So when you want to make things highlighted, you leave things light, and then you will darken up your darker spaces to create the highlight. It's a little bit backwards, but once you learn that little process. But this, if you follow this along pretty easily, it's fairly simple. Okay, now I have a lot of water on this paper, so I'm going to let that set for just a few moments and let that kind of absorb and dry just a little bit. Okay, and actually I'm just going to kind of smooth this out. You may want to do the same thing, just kind of smooth it out so you don't wind up with this, what I call the wash ripples in it, and just, there we go. Not worried so much about the bottom. Bottom doesn't have to be perfect. Why? Because it's the reflection of the water. If it blends or bleeds a little bit, that's cool. Actually, to make it bleed a little bit, I'm going to put some water across it, just diffuse it a little bit, and just to kind of diffuse it, just to give it that watery effect, just like that. Alright, kind of tones it down. Okay, very quickly, no more additional water. I'm just going to take this and darken it up one more time on the top side for the top. And the top only, following my contour, following my original line, and then pulling that down, just letting the water do the work, and letting the water blend it. Now you'll notice this is a little bit darker than here. As it dries, you can continue to add layers to it. It will continually get darker. Like so. Okay, like that. We're going to let that be for the moment, let that dry, and we'll be right back.